In this series, we will be reading the lore text about the Age of Sigmar, the setting from the Soulbound RPG Corebook. This episode covers the narrative introduction and the first part of the Mortal Realms chapter. The introduction, in the wake of the cataclysm that saw the world that was drowned in chaos, Sigmar tumbled through an empty void, clinging to the last cooling vestige of his world, a fragment of its metallic core that later generations would come to know as malice. Drawn to its gleam, Dracothian the Great, father of Stardrakes, came upon Sigmar and sensed a kindred spirit. Reviving Sigmar with a warming breath, Dracothian bore the ailing god to the 8 realms, and there set malice in the firmament of the heavens. The coming of Sigmar was the catalyst for a golden age in the history of the mortal realms. He journeyed far and wide, discovering primitive peoples and battling the legendary primordial beasts that had terrorized them. To these people, he brought the tools of civilization, and in return, they worshipped him as the greatest of all the gods. Cities were founded, and societies flourished, while Azirheim, Sigmar's glorious capital bestriding his empire, grew mighty. Guided by inner knowledge, or perhaps by fate, Sigmar found other gods, drawing them into his pantheon of order. Each of the 8 realms was appointed a divine protector, and oaths of allegiance were sworn. Grungni taught mortals metalcraft, while Nagash imposed order on the spirits of the restless dead. Even the savage twin god Gorkamorka worked enthusiastically to clear the wilds of all manner of monstrous things. Together, the gods brought prosperity and relative peace to all the peoples of the mortal realms. Each of the gods was a being of unique power and pride, responsible for countless wonders of their own long before their discovery by Sigmar. But each recognized Sigmar as the first and greatest amongst them. So, it was in Sigmar's realm of Azir, upon the storm-flattened plateau of Mount Celestian, the highest of all peaks, that the god-king founded Highheim, the great parliament of the gods from which his growing pantheon might rule. Here it was decided that mortal souls should be given the power to defend themselves and protect their realms. And so, the Soulbound were created, bound to both the gods and the realms themselves. They would serve as guardians and protectors, and defend the mortal realms from the horrors that assailed it. And yet it was from within, not from without, that the end would come. Even in this age of splendor, mortal weakness remained. The selfishness, cruelty, and pride of humans, Duardin and elves, caused cracks and fractures in the world. It was through these cracks that chaos slipped unnoticed into the mortal realms. The worship of the dark gods spread. Their whispered promises and insidious lies turned people against one another. Little by little, the cracks grew, and in this strife, the dark gods found a way through. The full wrath of the realm of chaos erupted into the mortal realms, the demonic legion-bringing wars so unprecedented in their scale that the era would earn the sobriquet, the Red Century. Cities fell overnight, empires founded by the gods brought low, whole civilizations ended in the fires of sacrifice. Every act of brutality empowered the dark gods that perpetrated them. Every victory for chaos bled the strength of those who would oppose it, as soldiers, champions, and whole nations turned their backs on gods that seemed to have forsaken them. Organized resistance crumbled. United, the gods of the pantheon were, and always had been, a force that even chaos could not unseat. As with Mordecai, however, defeat would come from within. Overconfidence, selfishness, disinterest, and one terrible act of treachery brought an end to the golden age of myth. It did not come quickly. One small setback led to another, which led to another. Alariel, the Everqueen, a once stalwart ally for Sigmar, was despondent at losing so much to the plague god Nurgle and retreated to Giron. Gorkamorka, enraged by endless debates and politicking, roared in fury, leaving Azir to lead a great wag. Across the cosmos, the Elven gods, Tyrion, Teclis, and Malarian, along with Morathi, had their focus elsewhere and sought to reclaim the souls of their lost Elven kin from the belly of Slaanesh. Nagash, furious at Sigmar for not aiding him in a time of need, was the final and most devastating betrayal. During a crucial battle at the Eight Points, which exists beyond the realms, but connected each one Nagash's undead hosts, turned on the Azirite forces. A series of calamitous defeats led to the final disintegration of what was left of the pantheon of order, culminating in a final catastrophic defeat at the Battle of the Burning Skies and the loss of Sigmar's great hammer, Galmaraz. Beaten and distraught, Sigmar abandoned the mortal realms and fled to Azir, sealing the realm gates and dooming the other realms to the age of chaos. Although Sigmar had abandoned the mortal realms to chaos, he had not forgotten them, nor given up hope. With the aid of Dracothian and Grungni the Maker, Sigmar's most stalwart ally within the old pantheon, Sigmar constructed the anvil of apotheosis. In his isolation, he forged a new army, a legion of heroes imbued with the cosmic energies of Sigmar's storm and clad in Sigmarite. An army of immortal warriors strong enough to stand against the might of chaos. In time, Sigmar's armies grew so great that even the vast halls of the Sigmarabulum could no longer contain them. This host included not just his Stormcast Eternals, but mortals as well. Huge regiments of humans, Duardin, and elves, the descendants of those who had fled to Azirheim centuries before the last realm gates to the Eternal City had closed. These warriors were determined to retake their homelands from the nightmare of chaos. Even so, Sigmar confided to his allies that he feared his army was unready. But there was no more time. Reality itself had begun to warp under the footprint of chaos, and Sigmar was compelled at last to unleash his tempest upon the mortal realms. On that day, the skies of every realm erupted in light as Sigmar's tempest struck. Wreathed in lightning from the heavens, the warrior hosts of the Stormcast Eternals slammed into the blood-stained earth. Each struck near a long-sealed realm gate. Their only goal was to open the gates and allow the armies of Azir to to flood forth. The storm hosts charged into battle, calling out exultant war cries. The long wait was over, and the forces of chaos would be slain. Time and again, the storm hosts hurled back the servants of the dark gods. Time and time again, another realm gate was opened. Reinforcements charged through, bearing centuries of anger and frustration as they descended on the battlefield. A new era had dawned. Hope, fleeting though it was, came to the mortal realms for the first time in centuries. The cities of Sigmar began to grow around the reclaimed realm gates, and civilization, however small, began to return. The God King had presented chaos with the first unified effort at resistance in an age, and chaos exalted early in the Age of Myth, with the dew of creation still clinging to the mortal realms. The supreme necromancer, Nagash, proclaimed lordship over all Shaiish and mastery over all the souls in its underworlds. Knowing that his fellow gods would one day seek to circumvent his divine right, Nagash set in motion a great undertaking. He dispatched his deathless servants to harvest grave sand, the realm stone of Shaiish, from the edge of his realm. Devoid of life, Nagash's servants sifted through the endless dunes for the precious realm stone and returned it to the black pyramid taking shape at the realm's center. This was the work of ages, for each grain of grave sand is said to contain a soul, and only a single grain could be carried at a time, and his servants' bodies would crumble to dust under the sheer currents of finality emanating from each grain. For century upon century, long lines of undead marched like ants across great distances, each carrying their precious cargo. Only a being as single-minded and infinitely patient as Nagash could have implemented such a plan. As his grand act drew closer, the gods became alerted to the scale of Nagash's ambition and sent malign portents to their followers to gather their armies and march with all haste on Shaiish. Their efforts unbalanced Nagash's ritual, but could not prevent it. The black pyramid sank towards the core of the realm sphere, creating a vortex known as the nadir of Shaiish, and reordering the cosmic geometries of the entire realm. Magic that had previously flown towards the borders of the realm now flowed towards its center. To Nagash, unbeknownst to the undying king, a small cabal of shadowy Skaven agents had become trapped in the great black pyramid. They were a living speck of chaos amongst the workings of Nagash's grand spell, and their presence disrupted the ritual, causing the eldritch energies to erupt and overflow. Nagash, the supreme necromancer, absorbed as much of that power as he could, the rest escaping in a cataclysmic eruption of death magic that rocked the mortal realms. The dead rose throughout the realms, erupting from within cities and slaying all who lived. An onslaught of phantasmal hosts scoured the lands, aiming to snuff out all life. The nature of magic changed forever, as predatory living spells stalked the lands and decimated all in their wake. The necroquake had struck. The God King and his followers now faced not only the forces of chaos and the rampaging greenskin hordes, but Nagash's legions of spirits and undead servants. His Stormcast Eternals had won a few small victories, but Sigmar knew it would mean nothing if these new cities could not be held. Once more he called to his old allies. Alarielle, arisen from years of isolation, had taken on her warrior aspect and was quick to ally with the God King once more. Morathi, though no true god, surprised all by pledging some small amount of support. Of Teclis and Grungni, none can say, but many believe they work with Sigmar even now. The other gods ignored Sigmar's call or would join in time. But for now, the God King and his allies would do what they could. The newly constructed cities of Sigmar needed to be defended, lest hope be lost forever. But the Stormcast Eternals and the forces of order are fighting countless battles in 8 near-infinite realms and are stretched to the breaking point. The people of the realms cling to what they have. Howling maelstroms of the living dead sweep across the land. Cannibal warriors, soaked in blood, rampage through settlements, and the dark gods lurk at the edges, waiting for their moment. Once more, the gods turn to the people of the mortal realms to defend themselves. Once more, the mightiest souls and most powerful mortals of the realms are called together. Once more, arcane rituals bind champions to an ancient order of heroes. Now, on the brink of an unending age of death, the mortal realms need you. Arise, soulbound. The mortal realms. Know this then. In the etheric void spin 8 realms, collations of raw magical energy, each appearing, if one could view them with the eye of a god, as contained within a vast sphere. There are many domains and strange places beyond the 8 mortal realms, but what lives, conquers, and kills within each realm is both fascinating and frightening. Though they share many traits, each realm is unique, cast in the mold of the energy that most imbued its creation. War rages across all the mortal realms, for the God King Sigmar has sent forth his Stormcast Eternals to reclaim order and civilization from the corruption of chaos, and to safeguard his people from the terrors of the restless dead. He has been joined in this war by several of his allies of old and their followers. It is a war without respite, happening on countless fronts, for each realm is near infinite in size, and all save heavenly Azir are almost entirely held by the forces of chaos and menaced by the scourge of the undead. The ancient struggle, though the mortal realms have spun for millennia, they are but the latest iteration of an ancient cycle. A new chapter in an old story, one with no end, an eternal struggle of order and chaos. In the previous cycle, that which is now known as the husk world of malice was vibrant with life. Peoples and the gods born of their belief flourished. Nations and empires rose in power and prestige. But as ever, where life prospered, so too did chaos. Its power swelled, growing with each passing century, until at last a tide of madness poured forth. Despite the efforts of her inhabitants, malice was consumed by a storm of chaos. When the world that was finally succumbed to the ruinous powers, entropic ravages it shattered to pieces. Its histories and peoples were lost to the cosmic tide, but its fragments, infused with the wild magics of previous cycles, grew and spread. Over time, they became the mortal realms as they are now known. One world became many. In these newly born realms, the echoes of that fallen world and all of those that came before persisted. Where once there was but one world, there are now 8 near infinite realms. And once again, chaos seeks to overwhelm all. The realms, the mortal realms, as they are called by Azerite scholars, were formed from the death cry of the world that was. Even as that ancient world crumbled, the magical winds that inundated it were expelled into the void. These magics coalesced about the fragments of malice, the core of that broken world, changing into something new magic, concentrated and crystallized into landscapes of near infinite scope and grandeur. In the unknown eons that followed, 8 new realms grew to replace the one that had fallen. Azir, the realm of heavens, Akshi, the realm of fire, Chaman, the realm of metal, Gur, the realm of beasts, Jiran, the realm of life, Hish, the realm of light, Shaish, the realm of death, Ulgu, the realm of shadow. These realms were formed from the raw energies of creation. No 2 realms are alike in appearance. The landscape of Chaman, for instance, swells and flows like liquid in an alembic, while Azir is part of the glittering firmament above all realms. Regardless of their shape, each is infused with the magics that were the catalyst of their creation, down to the thinnest blade of grass. The farther one travels to the edge, the purer the expression of that realm becomes. No living being can survive at the edge of Shaish, while plants grow, bloom, decay, and are reborn in a matter of moments at the rim of the realm of life. The edges of the realms are inimical to all that lives, even the gods themselves, and only the foolhardy attempt to travel there. The realms are connected by a vast web of dimensional pathways known as realm gates. These realm gates bind the realms together in a cosmic pattern of such intricate complexity that even the wisest of sages and gods alike have yet to fathom its furthest extents. Azerite texts that were ancient when Sigmar first walked the realms seem to indicate that the realm gates were first formed by a race known as the Old Ones, progenitors of the enigmatic Seraphon. Far too many of the realm gates were twisted and corrupted by vile rituals and acts of great savagery during the Age of Chaos, rendering them treacherous to use, as they open pathways directly into the realm of chaos. Here resides the infernal pantheon known collectively as the ruinous powers, or the dark gods. The chaos gods and their realm are one and the same, the embodiment of grievous sins given form, fueled by the most savage of mortal passions. Their violent energies wax and wane together. The realm of chaos is a predatory dimension of hideously infinite scope, only tenuously linked to the rest of reality. A fortunate thing indeed, for what the realm of chaos touches, it inevitably corrupts. But like all predators, the ninth realm hungers, and only the lifeblood of the mortal realms will assuage that hunger. Realm gates. The realms are of such near infinite scope that a traveler might spend 10 lifetimes journeying from the center of one to its farthest edge. But within each realm are innumerable dimensional pathways known as realm gates. These realm gates form an unseen arterial network extending both within the borders of a given realm as well as far beyond. They may connect points separated by oceans or even by the etheric void itself. The most ancient of these pathways existed well before the first human cities, with even the most recently discovered appearing to be ancient. Each realm gate is unique. Some resemble nothing more than shimmering wounds in the fabric of reality, while others are immense portcullises of mystic iron or rune-etched stone. A few are humble things, hidden from the eyes of all, but those who already know of their existence. If there is a pattern to the realm gate's location, it's unknown even to the gods. Even their exact number is a mystery. In the age of myth, sages and adventurers by the score sought to map them, but few achieved any success, and more fell to madness. What maps do exist are all but unreadable and almost completely unreliable. Nonetheless, these maps are highly prized by those who seek to use the realm gates for their own ends. Of the known realm gates, many have been twisted by chaos, corrupting influence, torn away from their original points, to be bent instead towards some part of the realm of chaos. Others have been sealed for unknown reasons by the enigmatic Slan, or even destroyed in their entirety. Those that remain are often fiercely contested, as during the Realm Gate Wars, when Sigmar's armies sought to lay claim to those pathways that would best aid his attempts to throw back chaos and retake the mortal realms. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this audio journey into the world of the Age of Sigmar. In our next episode, we will cover the spread of civilization and life in the realm.